We think, investigate, create, innovate, and we collaborate, strengthening pre-college research in the Philippines, driving youth's passion for science through intensive seminars, workshops, and rigorous training. With something new, exciting, and relevant for you with the prevailing value of an ISEF finalist. This 2020 and beyond, we, the NIAP network of ISEF Alumni Philippines, is officially coming back. Come and join us as we mold young Filipino scientists and researchers towards promoting science for the public for a better world to live. Together as a community, as fellow science-driven individuals, we will continue to aspire, thrive, and transcend limitations. We are the network of ISEF Alumni Philippines.
So good evening, everyone, and to our viewers on Facebook Live, welcome to our webinar. While the pandemic has left us stuck in our homes, our ideals to pursue ambitions of a better tomorrow have not wavered one bit. Hi, I'm Ray Pelaya of ISEF Batch 2020, and I'm currently a BS Biochemistry student at UP Manila. And for this evening, I'll be your host for this webinar, and we're going to talk about doing research in a challenging time. In these times where strict health protocols prohibit us from stepping into labs or the field, you're probably trying to figure out what comes next for your research ideas. Well, we present you with this opportunity to learn from the insights and experiences of seasoned researchers in order for you to push your innovation through all the constraints. But before that, let's hear some words of welcome from NIAP's events team manager, the epitome of grace under pressure, Aryan Wen Rolyan.
Okay, thank you. More than a year has passed since COVID-19 affected our lives, and one field that particularly took a big hit would probably be the educational sector. Schools were forced to shut down, and students were forced to transition from the traditional face-to-face to the online learning. And I know that since most of us here are research enthusiasts, one question that probably popped into our minds would be, what about research? Because a lot of the laboratories and research institutions that we know shut down, and science fairs were canceled. And at this time, it seemed that doing research is completely impossible, which is why tonight we will be hearing from people who overcame the challenge of doing research in the pandemic. These students and mentors embody a common saying that goes, that there's a will, there's a way. Our passion for finding solutions to communities' problems should not be hindered by this pandemic, right? So before we begin, I'd like to give a quick shout out to our partner for this event, SIDHI. We look forward to more collaboration with you guys. And without further ado, everyone, I welcome all of you to NIAP and SIDHI's webinar on doing research in a challenging time, tips for success. Enjoy, and I hope that you'll be able to learn a lot from this session. Thank you and good evening.
All right. Thank you so much for those inspiring words, Ate Aryan. Is everyone excited? Because I know I am. So with that being said, let's get right into it. So we're so happy that we get to have this event in partnership with SIDHI. They have been a key partner of NIAP as we share the same objective of delivering useful research tips and information to all young researchers. For years now, SIDHI has been taking in young high school researchers in order to nurture their ideas and to transform them into successful research studies. This evening, we'll be talking about their experiences as they share some suggestions and tips on how we can achieve the same feats with our own ideas. So without further ado, I welcome Sid Layesa of SIDHI to talk about the SIDHI Mentorship Program.
Sid, you must unmute.
Hi, I'm really sorry. My name is SIDHI Alayasa, and I am a network coordinator from SIDHI. I am here to present about us, who we are, and what we do. Um, so what is SIDHI? SIDHI stands for Science Integrated Direction for High School Investigators. We were conceived by high school students who recognize the need for STEM mentorship um, among high schools in the Philippines. Really, our main program or our flagship program is a mentorship program that fosters personal and professional mentorship relationships between Pinoy scientists and Filipino high school students. SIDHI is a growing network and a community of Filipino STEM professionals around the world. Our core team and executive team comprises of scientists and aspiring scientists from the Philippines, Korea, Belgium, Italy, and the United States of America. Our mentors are coming from different parts of the Philippines. We have mentors coming from Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. We also have mentors from Taiwan, United Kingdom, and of course, Belgium, Italy, United States of America, and Korea, because some of our core team and executive team are mentors as well. So what is SIDHI mentorship exactly? So we are since K to 12 implementation, science high school students are required to have research courses, and really our purpose is to provide mentorship and guidance as students do their research courses. We facilitate a year-long mentorship program between Filipino scientists and high school students in the Philippines, anchored on mentee science research and projects as required by their schools. So really the goal of the mentors is to advise and encourage their mentees throughout the research process. Our main goal is to build essential skills among mentees as they pursue their research projects by connecting them with encouraging and experienced STEM professionals in the Philippines and abroad. So here's an overview of our mentorship program. So first is we open the mentor application and selection where mentors apply and are selected based on experience and interest. And then we screen for projects where we ask applicants to have a research plan or a project in mind that's either qualitative or quantitative. But before we open the application, we'll be hosting an info session for mentees happening late August or no, happening early or mid-August, and afterwards we'll open the application for mentees around late August or early September this year. So after we receive applicants or applications from mentees, we match them with mentors and who are doing or expert in the field of the research that the mentees are doing. After mentees and mentors are much with one another, that's when the mentoring program starts, where really the goal is to establish and maintain communication among mentees and mentors, and mentors support mentees all throughout the research journey. On top of that, SIDHI also hosts community events. Yearly, we host two big events, two virtual conferences, which I'm going to talk about after this. And we also host events interspersed throughout the school year. So as I mentioned, we host two major events all throughout the year. First is the RAID, the lab fridge, and the virtual science fair. At SIDHI, not only we think mentorship is important, but also we have an emphasis in community building within our organization. By hosting community events, we hope to build long-lasting social capital among stakeholders of the organizations, which includes mentee, mentors, core team, and the executive team. So one of our major events is the RAID, the Lab Fridge, which happens around December or semester break, where we invite mentors to give keynote speeches and lead panel discussions associated with the work they're doing in their fields. And second is the Science Fair, which is the culmination event of the mentorship program, which happens around this part of the school year, around April or at the end of the school year, where we ask mentees to present their project and the work that they've been doing. Other community events that we host are our mentee orientation, which happens after we've paired mentees with their mentors, and at the same time, the mentor meetup, where mentees and mentors get to meet other mentees and mentors outside their mentorship pods to build relationships and to build friendships with other people who are passionate about science and doing research. SIDHI is also a proud partner of NIAP. We support and join social mixer events by NIAP, where we get to build friendships and connections with members of the NIAP organization. At the heart of our partnership is really supporting the next generation of Filipino scientists, and we thank really NIAP for partnering with us, and we look forward to more events with you. So here's an overview of the program outcomes that we hope mentees and mentors would be able to gain from joining us. Number one is a brief project summary, where at the end of the program, which is around this part of the school year, we encourage mentees to submit a summary of their projects. Second is, as I've talked about, it's the virtual conferences that we hold. One is the virtual conference that happens in December to highlight the work that our mentors are doing. And second is the virtual science fair, which happens around this part of the school year, where we ask mentees to present their projects that have been mentored by our mentorship program. And thirdly, which is the most important one, is we hope to support successful mentees in really achieving the project outcomes and support them as they participate in science fairs in the Philippines and abroad. At the same time, we hope mentees develop essential skills to enter the field of science and really, the process that's necessary in the process of doing scientific research. So here's an overview of the program outline of SIDHI. To be updated on what's happening on SIDHI, follow us on Facebook at SIDHI Mentorship. The Filipino students interested in becoming a mentee info session will be held, as I've mentioned, early or mid-August. We'll start accepting mentee application around late August or early September. And SIDHI will also be relaunching our website next month. So follow us on Facebook to stay tuned on that. And really, that's it for me from SIDHI. If you have any questions about SIDHI, if you'd like to be a mentor or a mentee or even be part of our core and executive team, reach out to us on Facebook at SIDHI Mentorship, or send us an email at sidhimentorship@gmail.com. Thank you very much.
And yeah, I think we have to go to our mentees. So the very first one is Anna, who actually did an individual project with her mentor, Dr. Carmela Caballero. So Anna, feel free to take the stage.
Hello. Hello everyone. The study that I've been researching for the first time of the school year is the impact of DAC syndrome among grade 12 students in Cohasset College. So DAC syndrome is an idea of duck looking calm while gliding on the surface of the water. It is spotted vertically below where you can see. It is attributed to students where they
Anna.
look calm on the outside. But
Excuse me, your screen. Are you able to share your screen? Yeah.
Is it back the up?
Let's see. Do you have two screens?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Is it okay na po?
For me, I'm not able to see anything. Maybe the others are.
Are others can see my screen? The others can see my screen.
I think we can see it as well.
You can
you
see it
probably?
already?
No, we can't see it. So maybe you can
okay.
turn it off and then try it again. Sorry for all of the technical issues, everyone. Please bear with us.
Okay na po.
But Anna,
Yes,
yeah,
this is
okay,
great.
there it
Thank
is.
you.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone. Back to you,
I'm
Anna.
really sorry. I'm really sorry about that. So, Down syndrome is attributed to students who may look calm on the outside, but are in reality they are struggling. So, in conducting this research, there will be 30 respondents. There are grade 12 students, male and female, and are currently enrolled in Cohasset College. The questionnaire will be using the DATS21 and will be sent to the social media of the respondents. So, my research journey, it was a really chaotic adventure. So, the first mission that I've received is finding the right topic for me. It was a really difficult one, but I break it out into three. The first one is I am under the specialization of health science in my school, thus my research should be related to the health studies. And we are currently doing a quantitative survey research, and I am interested with psychology and mental health awareness, thus the DAC syndrome was created. And the next one is the beginning, which is writing the chapter one. And writing the chapter one was a smooth flight because maybe I know what are the things that I should include to my chapter one. However, I'll be lying that I did not experience some turbulence during it, but my mentor was there to help me, to guide me in order to do it successfully. The next one is the conflict, and this is where the hell break lives. It's because Jack syndrome has a few literatures, and I was like, oh my god, how should I solve this one? And then I remember that time my mentor was messaging me and asking me, how are you, Anna? How's your research? And all. I was like, I'm having a life crisis here. And I told her the situation, and she gave me this link SABC webinar, and it was a really great help. And my mentor was an angel sent from heaven. And after that, the end. I put some question mark there because I don't know if that's really the epilogue of my journey, but I remember that time. It was the month of December, and Christmas was around the corner, and happy vibes everywhere. While me sitting in front of my laptop and was worrying about my methodology. And I think the difficulty that I was facing that time is choosing my questionnaire because there's a lot to choose from, and when there's a lot, I get confused. And after that, I was like, okay, everything is settled. I chose the DAS 21, the informed consent, and the respondents are okay. However, I was waiting for my research advisor for the go signal to do the survey, and yet I was saved unused that I can't do the survey because there's a lack of time, and I just been informed that this research project is just for first time, and but I was so disappointed, and yet at the same time I was happy because for the part one of my research journey, I get to finish it. So the next one is working with my mentor. Okay, working with the mentor is fun. Why? Because maybe we both of us have a lot of common. She's the eldest. I'm the eldest. She likes health sciences, and I like that too. And she's outgoing, and I'm not. And I think outgoing people and introvert has a compatibility. And the next one is comforting. It's very comforting because research can be difficult. It's tiring, and anyways, but there's when you have a mentor, you just see that okay, someone is there for me to help me and even encourage me to go forward. The next thing is realization. Working with a mentor is I realize a lot of things. The first one is I realized that I really want to pursue health allied professions. It's like, okay, this is the path for me. And the second one is I realize that there's more for me. There's more this Anna that you can see. There's more that I need to view from outside the world. And the next one is learn. I learned a lot from my mentors beside research because we talk about outside things of research, and then I learned a lot how the creativity because she shared this art gallery about creativity, and I learned a lot about how to be confident because I was so inspired about her, how she impart her knowledge to other people, and this aura, in this shining aura around her. And after that, the challenges. I encounter a lot of challenges in my journey. However, these are the top three. First is myself. I am that kind of girl who is easily discouraged and likes to plan, but the problem is the consistency. However, I overcome this by, of course, praying. I just ask God, Lord, just give me confidence because I can do this on my own. And the second one is learning new things. I think learning new things helps you to boost your confidence. The second one is limited literature, and as you can see, I already said that to my journey. And I just add one how I overcome this. It's just don't give up. Like rack all the websites, rack all the journal websites, and even join some webinar. They can help. And utilizing YouTube. Utilizing YouTube just like Google Form. Honestly, I don't know how to manipulate it, but I asked my sister on how to use it. That's how I created my questionnaire. And the last one, the tips. The first thing that you need is be interested. Be interested on your research because I think this will help you to avoid the burnout, the tiredness, and if you are interested in your research, that negative feelings, that negative emotional state will be there lasting on your mind. Just the first thing on your mind is what's next? What's next? I really want to do this. Like, okay, just whatever the difficult things is, I just want to see the end of it. And the next thing is be open and ask. Be open. I know criticism, judgments can be tough to accept, but most of them does not mean harm. Most of them are help you to become a better person, help you to improve. And after that, ask. I know, ask if you are confused, if you are having a hard time doing your research, you should just ask your mentor, your advisor, because clarifying confusion immediately will help you to work your project easier and faster. And if you want to be like that, to be like this angry dinosaur, just do time management, people, because time management will help you organize, help you to do all your tasks in without that word cramming. And also, I'm gonna end this with a quote from my grade 7 researcher teacher that work before play, which just means like work all the things that you needed to do, done all the tests that you need to do, and then after that you can play. You can read all the mangas and manhwas that you need to read, play your video, and that is all. And I think that is all. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. And now we
And
have Joshua.
Hello. Yes. Naririnig po ba ako?
Yes,
So
all.
I won't be using a presentation, so I could explain more about my or our experience. So good evening. I am Paul Joshua Balas, a grade 12 student from Muñoz National High School, main senior high school in Science City of Muñoz, Nueva Ecija. And I'm going to share our experience on behalf of my team. Shout out Jeno Mangahas, Chris, and Christian Sarmiento. So this school year has been a tough one. Yeah, we've all experienced that. Like other years when the circumstances are this strict with a quarantine lockdown ongoing, we still opted to pursue research even when there's an ongoing pandemic. So, as grade 12s, graduating students, this year was supposed to be fun for us in our school, specifically in terms of research. So, in grade 11, we landed a research project proposal about hydraulic lift in deep rooting rice varieties under abiotic stress under the guidance of Sir Ruel Suralta from the Philippine Rice Research Institute. So, uh, that study, we have already successfully completed the proposal itself, and we were supposedly going to conduct the study the summer of 2020, but sadly, we could not continue due to the pandemic. So my initial thoughts were we felt robbed of the experience as high school researchers. Like we were already given the chance to conduct a study which would enhance our laboratory skills. We've already poured our efforts on pursuing that study, but the situation, even right now, didn't really permit us to continue with that proposal. So, as the academic year 2020-2021 opened, we pondered on a question, paano na yung research natin as grade 12 graduating students? So, as STEM students rin, we were really inclined with research as we entered grade 12. And that's because as STEM students in our school, that was our main specialization technically in our final year in senior high school. Like other STEM courses, research was really important for us in expanding our knowledge that isn't taught inside our classrooms. So during that during that time, Ren, when we pondered on that question, I joined SIDHI. I personally, without the uh, hindi ko pa kasama yung iba kong teammates doon sa study na yun. Pero I joined SIDHI with the hopes that it would give us a better understanding about pre-college research and also a glimpse of what we should expect in the world of research on various fields of science and technology. And that's what SIDHI has brought to us. Yung glimpse nung how research works in various fields, wherein we have mentors from different fields sharing their own research experiences as well. So SIDHI has held various webinars which has helped me and as well as my team uh, in better understanding how we can do this better during this hard time. So SIDHI has given me the knowledge that I was never even taught in us from high school. So yeah, SIDHI has been a very big help for us, specifically doon sa writing pa lang ng manuscript namin and just with coming up with the title. And this school year, we're actually conducting a study titled Evaluation of Rice Germination Response under Anaerobic Conditions and Varying Salt Stress Levels under the guidance of Sir Jonathan Concepcion, a research associate from Louisiana State University. And if I'm not mistaken, he's also an incoming PhD student. So he's our SIDHI mentor. So during my time or during our time in SIDHI, we've encountered a lot of problems in just coming up with the study since uh, the pandemic itself poses a problem na we can't do this, we can't do that. Maraming problemang naghihinder sa amin from conducting a study na nagbibigay sa amin na experience as high school researchers. Even just in the proposal stage, we were questioned on how we would be able to conduct this research in this quarantine lockdown. So we've even considered doing a systematic review and meta-analysis instead of conducting an actual experiment. But regardless, we still tried to make it work. With the help of Sir Jonathan, he gave us advices on how we could push through with this study. So he even gave us methods and protocols. Those methods and protocols which he imparted to us really helped us solidify our study. And he's always there if we have questions, even there's a big time difference between Louisiana and Philippines, which is like 13 hours if I'm not mistaken. So big thanks to our consultant from SIDHI. So Sir Jonathan has helped us better understand research in his specific field, which is on rice research as well. So we thank him and the SIDHI family as well for giving their valuable time and effort for guiding us and supervising our work, and of course for sharing their expertise as well on their respective fields and recommendations for the improvement of our paper. So I think hanggang dun lang yung ma-share ko, and I'm delighted to introduce our next speakers, Rowan, Johanna, and Rafael, to share their own experience as well and their own research. Thank you.
So I will be attempting to share my screen now. Okay, so good evening, everyone. Wait, sorry, I have to make sure if can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I am Johanna Marie Gavan with Roan Azur and Rafael Francis De Quilla as Work Unit 315 of PSHS WPC Batch 2021. And we will be presenting our research experiences when we worked on our study titled Molecular Docking of Selected Phytochemicals from Malunggay or Moringa oleifera against Chromosomal Trihalosis 6-phosphate phosphatase enzyme of Pseudomonas aeruginosa. So, if you're in this Zoom, you're probably wondering, what does it mean to do research? From our experience, the research journey, to put it in the simplest way possible, entails conceptualization, data gathering, analysis, and publication, in our case. Now that the basic concepts of research in general are out of the way, here we present a summary of what we did during our research. The common trehalose phosphate phosphatase enzyme is known to have been utilized by some strains of Pseudomonas aeruginosa as an osmoprotectant. Its presence in such pathogens, but absence in hosts such as humans, makes it a viable antipathogenic target. So using molecular docking, the study virtually screened selected phytochemicals or plant chemicals from Moringa oleifera against the TPP enzyme of Pseudomonas aeruginosa. So as a conclusion, the docked phytochemicals were determined to act as either possible competitive inhibitors or allosteric modulators.
Okay, so here you can see the breakdown of our research timeline. The duration of our study spans a roughly 8-month period from start to finish. You can also see the dates of important milestones in our research highlighted. Our conceptualization took approximately 3 months, followed by 4 bordering on 5 months of data gathering, including revisions. and a week in which we prepared everything needed for final defense. As you can see, ang daming ganaps, and it's amazing that we've survived the school year. Hindi naging madali, but naitabi naman in fairness. Next slide.
All right, so with the pandemic, our research experiences mostly entailed a virtual course of action. This is also the reason why our study shifted from a laboratory-based research to one in silico. So that means we used our laptops to implement or to perform computer simulation, and we also had to download the necessary software to gather our data. So we were able to present our preliminary findings, posters, and final defense all through online conferences that were organized by our batch under the supervision of our research teachers. So supposedly, the final step of our research journey is to get our study published in our school's scientific publication, Publish Science, which is organized by our batch also under the supervision of our research teachers. So now, even with all of this in mind, we all know that the search for truth never really stops. So next slide.
Okay, so we wouldn't be able to finish this study without the help of many people. We would like to take this opportunity to thank everyone, our family, friends, peer reviewers who helped us survive this journey. Special mention to the faculty and staff of PSHS WBC, especially our research teachers and advisors, Sir Julito, who gave us their valuable counsel and expertise in accomplishing this study with a victor's mindset. We really appreciate your efforts, ma'am and sirs. Maraming salamat po. We would also like to acknowledge SIDHI and its mentors for giving us the opportunity to learn from them. One person whose contributions we really want to detail more is our mentor, Mr. Jose Bandonio, nicknamed Chino. For much of the duration of our project, Chino has regularly given us tips on how to best approach a problem in research we're facing at that time. One example that comes to mind is when we were stuck in the phase of connecting our findings to existing research. His advice was to, and I quote, look over your findings until you find a part that has a concrete connection to existing sources. Once you have, start expanding from it until you are able to spot other connections in other parts of your findings. Not only that, he also shared very practical tips that we can use in real life. He is also very patient with us kahit minsan or madalas hindi namin na-achieve yung weekly goals namin na kanya rin nag-set. So, thank you, Kuya.
All right, so of course, no journey is complete without its challenges, and our research journey definitely was not an exception. So we show here three of the most common challenges that we experienced throughout our journey. So the first is internet connectivity. This was especially apparent during our, of course, the online learning, and especially in communicating with our group mates, since all three of us live very far away from each other. So like, yeah. So as such, unstable internet has also been a frequent problem, as it takes away the form of communication that we typically rely on. So another challenge that we faced was low motivation. So this was also admittedly fairly common. It happened to us during the times when our research progress became stagnant. So this was when we were a bit lost and we did not know how to proceed with our study. So the last challenge that we faced was the addition of other academic workloads. So as a graduating high school students, we also had to juggle the requirements given by the other subjects apart from our research study. So the danger here is that if we entirely focused on one subject, we run the risk of being overwhelmed with assignments from the others. So now how did we face these challenges? So the first thing is to think about is adaptability. So for example, when the internet goes down, do not stop and sulk right away. Think of what else you can do. So as for us, we used other methods such as texting to communicate with each other about our situation so that the others can be kept updated. So the benefit here is that if you update your group mates or your teachers as soon as possible, it will be of great help so that the others can also adjust to what they're doing. So this happened to us, yeah. So the second is to know how to prioritize and organize. So for example here, so you have to look over the assignments and tasks that we had to see. So in here you have to see which of your tasks have take more time. Then base your tentative schedule around that. So it is important to keep yourself productive as much as possible. So for example, if you're facing a task you know you can't do in a set amount of time, do some of the smaller tasks so that those are already finished beforehand. So try not to procrastinate if you still have the time. And if you lack the time, organize your tasks in the most efficient way you can.
Lastly, we have what we consider to be basic but extremely essential tips for fellow student researchers. 1. Identify the bottleneck parts of your study. When there are certain loose ends that need to be tied up, they have to be tied up. They have to be dealt with, or they might pose as a hindrance in the future. During the brainstorming stage, it is crucial to consider all possible outcomes to the best of your ability. The second one is to set attainable goals. Feasibility is a must to consider when it comes to conceptualizing. Let's be real here. Not everyone has a small loan of $1 million or has access to the technology that is needed to complete your study.
Okay, so next tip is to use a reference manager. This will help you keep track of the different literature and sources you're going to encounter and help you save time since it will automatically generate a reference list that you will need in your manuscript. Fourth tip, read and critique your previous written works. Ako kasi when I write a paper, I always read my previous written works and assess its strengths and weaknesses, then proceed to write the paper na and compare them both to see if there's improvement. So yeah, next tip is to note down important points. This is to help you get organized and be more familiar with significant information of an article.
All right, so I think na DC po zero. So yeah, so the fifth tip was to note down your important points. So now the sixth tip we have, which is related to the fifth one, is to make an outline before you start writing. So, for example, if you're stuck when writing something, it's better to start with the general approach and come up with an outline of what you want to explain. So, for example, you start with the heading, so you start with the topic, then you go down to the subtopics, and then you write, for example, like what you want to put there. So now once you are comfortable with the outline of whatever you're writing, you can then start to fill in the details. Seventh tip is to be concise in your wording. So because research, you have to write a lot of stuff. So of course, there's the research paper, manuscripts, and of course, letters to panels or to other professionals. So when writing anything, you have to know to be precise and straight to the point. This is so you can deliver the exact meaning of what you originally intend to say, and so that nothing can be lost in context. And the eighth tip is to never hesitate to ask advice from others. So, if you're experiencing a problem or have no clue what to do, for example, in a part of your research, it is perfectly fine to ask help. So, be it your research teacher, maybe a classmate, or a mentor figure. So, if you think that they'll be able to help you with your problem or predicament, it will never hurt to ask.
So the final tip, and maybe even the most important one of them all, it's okay to rest. Haha, research, rest. Rest for a while. Take a break before you break yourself. Your body has its limits and it's really nothing to be ashamed of. Keeping yourself healthy both mentally and physically is integral to being an outstanding researcher. If we had more time, we would have talked about our many humorous shenanigans, but that's all for today, and this marks the end of our presentation. Thank you for participating. Am I done sharing? Or
All right. Thank you so much for those insights, everyone. And before I say anything else, I just would like to congratulate all of you for a job well done. I feel incredibly inspired right now, and I'm sure that our audience feels the same way too. So with that being said, I'm sure you guys have a bunch of questions for our guests this evening. So please do not hesitate to type them in the chat box or the comment section so that I may read them later on in this program. So, as we've seen in their presentation, a large part of their success was accomplished due to the guidance of their mentors. So, let's get to know them even more. So, for all of you mentors, why do you think that mentorship is important for a researcher, especially even at the pre college level or even at the professional research level?
Maybe I can start.
Oh,
So, hello
yes.
to everyone. I am Carmela Caballero, and I'm here participating into this wonderful event of SIDHI and YAP. I'm here based in Brussels, Belgium, and I'm a medical doctor. I'm a surgeon, and I'm also working on cancer research. So, your question about the importance of mentorship, for me personally, it was the key to really help me discover my path, especially when I was at the very lowest part of my career and my personal life. And it was the help of mentors who really allowed me to go back to my path and really have the courage to move forward. So I think that's one important thing of having a mentor. As my student, as my mentee already said, it's not just the scientific part, but the personal part, the connection, the relationship that really drives the mentorship program of SIDHI. Another importance for me of mentorship is that mentorship is a way to allow others to discover the light in them. So this is one question that I ask myself a lot of times. My student also asks me a lot of times that this question about your doubt about your own capability and your doubt about your own if you deserve to be where you are right now or you deserve to have something bigger, higher for you. And the job of the mentor is to help the student to understand that yes, this is something that there is that light in you and you can really let that light shine, and it's your duty as a mentor to help the student let that light shine. um, Lastly, the mentorship, especially in the context of SIDHI, the mentorship has been a way for a lot of the mentors to give back to the Philippines, to our country, even if we are far away. A lot of the mentors are not in the Philippines. And personally, for me, to be able to have a chance and the opportunity to mentor someone from Mindanao, and I am very far from the Philippines, for me personally, it was a blessing. And I view it as a way for a lot of scientists, Filipino scientists outside of the Philippines to give back to our country. So, yeah.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Carmela. Would you like to follow up, John?
Yeah, so on top of what Mom Carmela said, I think one good thing about having a mentor is to actually have some sort of guidance, like a practical thing of how are you going to navigate into the world of science, coming from someone who's actually there and actually on the journey as well. Also, I think another important thing of being a mentor or having a mentor is to actually build connections. So having a mentor can actually connect you to, uh, different sources, and it can also open opportunities for you as well. So I think those I'm more into like the practical thing of having a mentor.
All right. Thank you. How about for Sir Sandino?
Hi. So actually, Chino. Hi. So actually, yeah. I agree with everything that they said, And on top of all of that, then I feel like it's important to note that science is, at its core, a mentor-mentee relationship. Most You have your boss that helps you do your projects, and so what's important about being a mentor then is having the experience of actually being a mentor, because in the future, if you really want to do research, you're gonna mentor other people, and you want to be able to mentor them well, or else they're gonna stop doing research essentially. And do you really want that? Yeah.
All right, just to follow up, can you tell us a little bit more about your relationship as a mentor with your mentees, or like what exactly was the type of role, or what other things did you provide to your mentees so that they could remain motivated to keep on doing their research?
Right. So ako to, no? Okay. So I feel like ang mentorship
Yes,
style
po.
ko kasi is you need to teach these three important things to your mentors, na to your mentees, that are not being taught in a classroom setting. So first is critical thinking, second is organizational skills, and number three, yung independence, discarte, in to put it in a more um, accessible term. So and these are the things that you can't teach without actually trusting them. So I feel like our an important part of our relationship is trust. So even if kunwari hindi nila mas ma-follow yung sarili nilang goals, yung sinet nila actually na weekly goal that you actually ask them to do, it's important to actually trust na they're trying their best, number one, and number two, they're they are not working themselves too hard. So ito madalas tong issue no, nag come up. They tend to grind, grabe. So you have to motivate them to have the to rest. Yeah. So yeah, so importante dito talaga yung trust. Yeah. That they're doing what's the best for them. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Sir Chino. So, on the topic of mentorship, one thing that I could never really forget in my research journey way back when was my relationship with my own research advisor, who may have been quite strict, but at the same time, he was also a very nurturing educator. So, yeah, with regards to that particular frame of thought, I have a question for Sir John, which is what has been the biggest challenge in creating a healthy mentor mentee dynamic in these challenging times? And how did you overcome it?
Okay, so I think basically, not just at this time, I think the pressing issue with mentor and mentorship is basically communication. So at this time, it encompasses everything. So first is time. So as Joshua mentioned, we have like a 13-hour difference. So that's the first thing that we need to overcome and to go around it. Second is that right now, most of our students are in modular kind of learning. So basically, they have a lot on their plate already, and let's face it, probably they don't have enough extra time to talk with their mentors and stuff. And then I think another one is that they're still trying to go around and learn all of this like virtual thing, all of this online learning stuff, all of these platforms. So I think as a mentor, we need to help the mentees for them to be comfortable, in reaching out to us, and also uh, providing them with the most accessible means that they can express themselves, that they can ask questions, you know. Now, and also at the mentees end, I think it it pays for them to be more confident in connecting with the mentors, because it can build, a good parang kuya and pate na relationship lang, instead of mentor and mentee. So it would have been better to make it a little bit more casual, I think, so that there's some sort of confidence and comfort when communicating. So I think the challenge here is communication and just go around it.
All right. Thank you so much, Sir John. So, yeah. So, I have here another question as well for Dr. Carmela, which is what are the most important tips that you could share to maximize being a mentor even through this virtual setup?
Yes, thank you for this question. So, if there's probably a little bit of the silver lining in the pandemic, it is that we were allowed, or we found so many ways to communicate, to collaborate virtually. So it has its advantages and disadvantages. It has its limits, but it facilitates what John said, the communication between the mentor and the mentee. So tips in this kind of virtual setting, maybe first tips for the mentors, especially those, so especially those who are already either advanced in their careers or not living in the Philippines at the moment, is really to understand the reality of the students and the mentees, who are in this program, because from the setting of probably Europe or US, where there's very good internet connection, you have all the possibilities for access. It might not be the same for your students in different regions in the Philippines, and so we need to understand this. Thus, of course, the time differences and the responsibilities, personal and professional responsibilities of both the student and the mentor. So we need to have a good understanding. And I think it's more the responsibility of the mentor to understand the reality of their mentees and students. So probably that's first thing. And yeah, it also boils down to communication. Next is, for a mentor, for the mentors, probably also for the mentees, is the value of openness and humility. So as mentors, in a way, because we know already a little bit more, and sometimes we know, we can foresee what will be their mistake or what will be the weakness of such a proposal. We tend to, or some mentors will have the tendency to impose what they think would be the best for the students, but at the same time, the students need to discover these things for themselves, and we are there to somehow support them, to guide them. For the students, it was also mentioned by Chino a while ago, the concept of resting, which is very important. And we need to, the students and the mentors need to be open to that for you to be more effective, you need to give yourself some quiet time, some rest time. It's so important that that was mentioned. And probably the last thing is that the presence and the commitment. So nurturing the relationship of a mentor and the mentee. And what does this involve? It involves the time of each one. So we need to respect the time. It can be quite short, it can be long, but the point is that it has to be quality time that you both agree on and that you commit to, that okay, we will work on this together. Plus Chino mentioned it, the knowledge and the expertise. We need to be able to commit in sharing the knowledge and the expertise. A lot of things are not on textbook, so you need to find a way to share this knowledge effectively. Plus, for a lot of scientists, we lack this probably the organizational part, the management part, which we discover along the way. But that's also the purpose of the mentors, because they've already seen what it can be like at the further down the road, the importance of the practicalities, the practical aspects of making your scientific idea a reality. This is something that is that the mentors can communicate. So so in a virtual setting, I think those are the key points that we need to be able to share as between the mentor and the mentees.
Thank you so much for that, Dr. Carmela. And yeah, thank you so much, mentors. So right off the bat, we can see that there are definitely some changes to there's some changes and approaches that we have to do in order for us to work in this virtual setup. So how about we ask the mentees what they think about it? So for the mentees, in a phrase or two, what is the biggest difference you encountered in doing research now as compared to pre-pandemic times? So, Anna, would you like to start?
I think is I'm doing a survey type, but actually I also experienced this survey researches, and the big difference between is uh you calculate each questionnaires manually, while right now we are using Google Form, and Google Form can calculate it for you. So it was an easier some could be an easier it was easier to do.
All right. Would you like to follow up? Ayan, pipili ako ah. Rafael, would you like to follow up?
Okay, so things that change in research before after the pandemic. Yeah, so one major change that I would say would be the switch to computer-based research, since most of us actually were more familiar with research done outside, research done in the laboratory, but with the COVID-19 pandemic, so most of us could not really experience this opportunity anymore. So we had to adapt. So it's actually one of the reasons why we chose this type of research as well, because it can be done from your home. So there's little risk of getting there's little risk with everything that's happened going on in the pandemic. So I would say that would be the biggest change in research for me personally.
All right, thank you. How about you, Joshua? What can you say in behalf of your team?
So, unlike pre-pandemic research, in our case, sa aming lugar in Science City of News, we were able to work with experts in scientific institutions like laboratories in Central Luzon State University or the Philippine Rice Research Institute. Nga, the quarantine lockdown has stricken our opportunity to enhance our laboratory skills to conduct research experimentation. So I think regardless, we can really still find ways like go around through these problems however we can to continue to pursue the knowledge. Like in our case, umabot talaga kami dun sa point na we really considered not doing this or not conducting the experiment itself, but do a systematic review na lang. Pero with the help of SIDHI mentorship, thanks to Sir Jonathan and the whole SIDHI community, we really pushed through and got around these problems with Sir Jonathan helping us with building connections in like gathering materials itself for our research, because our research required us procuring seeds that weren't really available for us during this time. Pero due to Sir Jonathan having his fair share of experience in working at the Philippine Rice Research Institute, he had some connections inside wherein we could procure the seed materials we needed to conduct the experiment. So, yeah, sobrang hirap talaga nung pagko-conduct ng experiment sa panahon na to. But regardless, mentorship itself really helped us in our case. But regardless, in any case, we can still continue to pursue gathering knowledge. Yun lang.
All right, thank you. So, how about Johanna? Would you like, can you share a phrase or two with us?
Okay, so I know that we're only supposed to say a phrase or two, but the weight of this word and what it means is actually way more than anyone could imagine. So I think that I share the same sentiments as a lot of people here when I say that what changed the most would be accessibility. The way that we shifted from, during the from the lab, like we literally had an entire research. We were supposed to start our data gathering before the pandemic, and like we made the Google Docs, and it's a cemetery. Like it's literally called a cemetery, and all the list there of the research concepts that we didn't get to do are in Comic Sans. So yeah, accessibility. It's definitely, yeah, to the lab, to devices, because of travel restrictions or whatever is keeping the world in such a tight place. Yeah, that's all.
Right. Thank you. So is Rowan present? Has she reconnected? We'd like to hear a few phrases as well. Ayun.
Uh,
Okay. I think she may have gotten disconnected. All right. So just before anything else, guys, I would like to say that I really relate to you guys, like having to look for a way, like a workaround, like having this preliminary plan, and oftentimes it just doesn't work out the same way. So it really takes an ounce of creativity to get through another approach for you to perform your research. So moving on, I have a question for Anna. So what do you think should students remember when they formulate a research topic that is feasible in these challenging times?
I think po is they should remember their capabilities and the resources available. Their capabilities where the topics won't be there out of control, and the resources available, like the technology that they have, and maybe they should think about the alternatives, the other alternatives that they want, especially if they really want to do that kind of research. That's
All right. Thank you. Okay. So on that topic, I have another question for Joshua. So based on your experiences, so what are your suggestions when designing and doing experiments during these challenging times? So like your workaround, can you go into deeper details as to how your thought process went?
So, based on our experience, as I've said, uh, we pursued conducting the experiment, even if one of the biggest problems we've encountered was the lack of instrumentation itself, or the lack of materials. Kasi Philippines is still under a quarantine lockdown. So, also considering the financial struggle we faced during this pandemic, um, we've really considered other options like utilizing viable studies that does not require that much materials that would uh, na hindi naman natin kailangan i-pursue yung studies wherein hindi talaga natin kayang i-conduct dahil sa kakulangan talaga ng ating mga materials, dahil naiintindihan naman natin we're facing a pandemic right now, and we could still utilize alternatives like what Anna said. And of course, by utilizing these alternatives, we should also not compromise the integrity of the study itself. So all I can say is that learning should not be limited by these problems just because of these small setbacks. We can still find ways we can go around it. And of course, just like what we're reiterating every now and then, that mentorship itself, having people helping you out isn't wrong. And this mentorship program has helped us out a lot pursuing pre-college research.
All right. So thank you, Joshua. So yeah, I was thinking about, doing team related work. These days, kasi in my case, like most projects I've worked with is parang napansin ko na parang challenge talaga. Like I can say that's pretty incomparable when it comes to being with the group mates in one place. Not to mention the emotional support that you get by having friends around you and all those sorts of things. So among the three of you, Rowan, Johanna, and Raphael, what can you say was the secret to working successfully as a team, what practical tips and other special things can you share about that?
I guess personally, I wouldn't have much to say because it's all in actions. And it's no secret that the key to efficiency in group work is communication. When you're in a team, information dissemination, it has to be like done really well so that all of you can maximize efficiency in the project. So that's all I really have to say. The point of being with other people, that's literally part of life. You have to consider everyone else because it's not just you, and you guys are working toward a similar goal that can benefit not just your team but also your community or society. That's all.
All right, so continuing on from what Joanna said, so yeah, communication is really a big factor when working in a group. So it's not just, for example, in the research study, as per se, but checking in on each other. So seeing what else could be, what could you do? Like, do you need help in something? So there are many ways that communication really is really important in team research. Since if you don't communicate, you don't know what the other person is doing. So yeah, it could lead to more problems later down the road. So I guess that would be my answer.
So thank you so much. Okay, so we have a question here. How could we do cheap projects for pre-college research? So yeah, let's be real here. We have definitely the financial constraints are a reality when doing research. Do any of you want to answer? Any insight? How about Sir Chino? Do you have any? Oh, nakamute ata kayo.
Ayan, okay. Sorry, can you repeat the question? Medyo hindi ko
Okay.
naintindihan.
So I think the viewer was asking for some tips on how we could do, or particularly a direction on how they could have cheap projects for pre-college research.
Cheap projects for college research. I think importante yung some of you may have read that in the chat, but since my field is in the life sciences, and so ang maganda sa life sciences is you have bioinformatics as a field, and so what you can do is just collect data from these online databases and actually analyze them. For example, yung kids ko, they used protein modeling using previously known protein structures. So basta may computer ka, hopefully matino yung memory ng computer mo, you can actually do similar projects at siguro yung bayad mo lang sa kuryente. Yun na yun. Yeah. So I think Florence asked din what software yung ginamit ng kids ko. Is that right? They used, ano nga ba yun? Guys, help me out here. I forgot na.
We use UCSF Chimera, Ligplot Plus, and also Autodoc Bina. All of them are free to download, except for, Ligplot Plus, you have to apply for a license, but it's also free if you use an institutional email, I think. Yeah, that's all.
Maybe I can add to what Chino said. Kasi ako naman nasa medical field ako. So I think I also mentioned in the chat that same as in the life sciences, the bioinformatics are very applicable. For medical sciences naman, you can do systematic reviews of a specific scientific question that you would like, and then or a meta-analysis kind of thing. But so what you can do is to access this free tools where you can download a lot of different publications for free. So in the medical field or in the scientific field, you can use PubMed Central. A lot of the publications are really free. um, and then when you want to organize your research so that it will help you move forward and keep track of all these papers that you would like to review. You should use a good reference manager. So the examples were given a while ago, Mendeley and Zotero. I think these are free, and these are available globally. So um, these are the things that you can do. Pero yun nga, before I would say na before you and in cancer research, even in Europe, where there is, you would be surprised, we always think about budgets. Even in highly resourced countries, we always think about budget. So, but we always also say that before any good idea, we will be able to find a way to fund it, or there would be a way to fund such a research. So bef- instead of limiting yourself na okay, ito lang ang budget ko, this is the only question that I would solve, maybe you have to take it the other way around. Think of a very good question, have a good mentor to help you develop that question, and you might be surprised because out there would be a lot of possible funding opportunities. So don't limit yourself in a box na ito lang ang budget ko, ito lang gagawin ko, but start with a very good question, and ang pera ay nahahanap. So pwede nating hanapin ang pera for that.
All right. So, on the topic of funding, I just would like to ask Sir John, do you have any other tips to these young researchers on how we can gain funding to really jumpstart the process when it comes to research?
Oh, okay. So, like what Florence said in the chat box, so there are actually some sort of assistantships from different uh, from DOST, probably from Sharka if you're going for agricultural research, also from different projects if they will allow you to work on it from different universities. So actually, you can ride into it. Just make sure that when you submit your proposal, it's really aligned uh, to the target topics, to the target of the agency that you're applying to. But there are actually a lot. So the first thing on my mind is actually DOST. Yeah, and writing on projects from different institutions and universities.
All right. Thank you so much to everyone. Unfortunately, that's the only time that we have for this particular open forum. I know it was an incredibly enriching discussion that we had, and there was still so much more that we could exhaust in this conversation. But if you have any more questions, or if you'd like to ask the speakers this evening for any other tips, I would like to request the mentors and mentees to share your emails in the chat box so that our viewers may email you and ask you further questions about other tips as well. So before we wrap things up, please make sure to fill out this form that I'm going to send in the chat in order for us to send in your certificates. There it is. I've just sent it. So have you learned anything new today, guys? Well, I'm sure you did. So on behalf of Naya and Sidhi, we would like to extend our gratitude to all the mentors and mentees who were able to spare some time to be with us today. Also, we would like to thank all of you who are present today. Thank you for joining us in this event, and we sincerely hope that their tips have helped you with coming up with a plan of action to transform your kindling ideas into a glimmer of hope, not only for you as you start to embark on your journey, but for the people you're going to help someday. So if you're up for more inspiring stories and helpful advice, please make sure to follow us on our social media accounts for more updates on upcoming webinars. You can visit NIAP's Facebook page at Network of ISEF Alumni Philippines and SIDHI's Facebook page at SIDHI Mentorship. Also, don't forget to check out our Twitter and Instagram account, which is named NIAP Philippines, all caps. Now that this webinar is coming to